Welcome back, Chair of the Bloody Point, part 3 of our look at early access Reign of Dwarf. As you may recall, we have built the base and now we're collecting the resources to complete it, and then we will go ahead with an upgrade. Upgrading is very important since it will dictate how easy or hard it is for someone to break into our base if we end up getting raided. So as mentioned in the previous video, I chose a location that has all of the needed resources in some quantity. You have a lot of wood here, a lot of stone, and some metal. In terms of the upgrades, you can upgrade from straw to wood to stone to metal and then to mithril, and each of those will, increase the hit points of the various components, the wall components, the base components. When you do upgrade to a different material type, you of course need to modify what resources you have in your influence chest for the maintenance, because there is a maintenance cost. And if you do not have sufficient materials in your chest, when maintenance is due, the assets will begin to decay. So I've seen one person so far, but haven't seen anybody in the direct vicinity of my base location, which is good. That's what I wanted. I wanted a spot that was out of the way. And as you can see here, it's not that easy necessarily to just run up to the entrance or to the base itself. Even I forget what approach I took to get up there. You have to approach from a particular angle to be able to, defeat the slope. And once you do that, you can crouch jump to get up here. You can't really see it from far away, which is what you want. At least not when it's in a vulnerable state like this with no doors and basic straw walls. Once it's upgraded to a particular tier, probably metal, you could expand vertically and not worry too much about being seen. So the familiar triangle entryway, airlock. It's not necessary to do that. There are all kinds of cool designs you can do. In fact, I'll be doing some more elaborate ones for my next base. But for this particular example, it's pretty straightforward, tried and true design. The doors also come in different tiers and different qualities. The basic one is something you build in your inventory just by crafting in the field, and then other ones require a workstation. So this interface for the lock, I just really love it. The fact that you have the actual tumbler on the right side has a nice sound effect associated with it. It's really, really good. They did a great job on that. Don't want you to see what I'm putting in, so we're gonna blur that. I'm sure if someone really wanted to, they could de-blur this to recover the information, but I'm not too worried. There is a wipe coming up with a substantial update that will be on the 21st of December, which is Thursday. And I think we'll see a lot more players starting again on that day. The weekly and monthly servers will be all wiping with the update. So if you're thinking of trying the game, as I mentioned in the previous video, it's on sale. This would be a great time to pick it up. And then, of course, start on the 21st when everybody starts. And there'll be a level playing field, and you'll get to see what the game is about. It's a lot of fun. I encountered some pretty elaborate and highly built up bases in the testing, and seeing the siege equipment in action is quite something, I'll tell you. Okay, so we've got our locks in place on our doors. You notice I did the outer ones first, and then I went back to each door and did the inner ones first. Those are the kinds of things you just develop as a practice. Once you do it the opposite way, you're putting two locks on one side, you haven't finished the other side, and someone just happens to come along and kill you. And you're only saving 10 seconds, but sometimes it makes a difference. Okay, so now we're going to upgrade. As you can see, use the radial wheel with the inventory, the material in your inventory, and you can just upgrade it using the building tool, which is the hammer. Notice the texture difference. This here is what we're looking at is the soft side, and the other one is the hard side. The tool allows you to rotate. You'll notice on the left in the radial wheel there is an interface icon for rotation. That can be done for the first, I'm not sure if it's 10 minutes or 5, but the first few minutes after you build something, you have the option to destroy it using the UI without having to hit it with a weapon, and you can also do the rotation. That's pretty standard in games of this sort. As you can also see from the UI, you'll notice there's a stability percentage. This is typical of survival games that involve building, where you have to have sufficient stability, that is support from walls and whatnot, foundations, in order to build vertically. If you attempt to exceed that, it will be unstable and you'll have a problem. Alright, so we're almost done. I'm gonna need a few more materials to complete the upgrade process, so we'll have to go back out and harvest. But at least the basics here are in place. If someone were to come along, I would have a little bit of time to defend before they broke in. Alright, taking the precaution of going up to wood from straw, although it's probably not necessary. This particular foundation, there's a little bit of a bug. I can't upgrade it. It says there's an overlapping issue. Further in the video, you'll see that I can upgrade it to stone, so it didn't require a relog or anything like that, or destroying it and recreating it. It was able to be upgraded. Alright, so I don't want to run out there with the stuff I have on me, so we're going to make a chest. Again, the basic things, the basic forms of doors and chests and whatnot can all be done just from your inventory. You can do that anywhere. You don't have to be at a crafting station, so that's good. There are different sizes of chests, so they take up more space in the world, and they also have more inventory space in terms of slots, and they also have more HP, so if someone were to get into the base, it would take them longer to, get into it. I forget how to split stacks. You can do it, but I've forgotten, so that's why I did it the long way. Okay, I'm not going to be needing my torch or my book or my building tool, so we'll put that away. Put some of the mushrooms or food away, and most of the resources I'll keep a bit in case I need to make a tool in the field. And then we're ready to go back out and collect more resources to finish the upgrading. Got the front door and the back door. So, as mentioned in an earlier video, I do plan to build underground. I've placed this starter base such that I can dig underground into the mountain and not worry about clipping through to the surface. That's a problem because you can't repair it. There's like nothing you can do. You could build a ceiling underground in that spot to at least block it, but it's no longer hidden. You'll be able to tell from the surface that there's a base down there. And staying hidden is like your first form of defense in a game like this. That was a strategy I employed in Lost Oasis, another survival game with building, where I would find a part of the map that was pretty concealed, and a lot of the protection came simply from being undiscovered. So you notice when I'm using the tool, the harvesting tool here, the pick, it does also have the directional indicators. Of course, there's no effect on a node because it's not defending itself, it's not moving, it's not blocking, but it might be a good opportunity to practice when you're hitting nodes to get your directional combat skills up to snuff. Let's see, I am going to be upgrading to stone, so that's going to be the primary resource that I need. Harvesting a lot of stone. If you look in the lower left, you'll notice the food meter and the thirst meters are going down. The rate at which that it does go down is pretty gradual, so it's not terribly punishing as a hunger mechanic, but you can't ignore it. It is something that you do need to account for. Make sure you have at least some form of food that you can use. The food I'm relying upon is mushrooms, because they're just gatherables, so I don't have to worry about fighting a mob and cooking the meat. I could do that if I really needed to, but I don't want to waste time. I just want to focus on gathering the materials that I need to get that base upgraded to stone before somebody shows up and ruins my day. I do like the graphics, honestly. It is a particular stylized, shall we say, but I do like it. It's you know, it's a step up from the Minecraft pixelated graphics, but it's not, you know, as detailed as something like New World. But on good settings, it looks pleasing enough. And when you're, you know, fighting with a lot of people on screen, you're going to appreciate the savings on the frame rate. You'll want that for sure. Okay, let's see. I don't know if I should start getting some metal. I am going to need it, you know, once I get the needed resources for the smelter. I'm going to need the metal to make the blacksmith table, which allows me to build a digging tool. So I will have to pick up some metal at some point. You'll notice on my hotbar there, as I'm using the tool, the bar above the tool is going down. That of course means the tool is taking durability damage and it will eventually break. There's no repairing of tools. Technically, that's not entirely true. You could put it in a crafting station and repair it, but these base tools, there's no real need to do that. They're just made from stone and wood, which I can, you know, get in abundance here. One thing you might want to consider when harvesting out in the open world, if you break a tool, don't just drop it on the ground. You know, it's a sign of life. It's a sign that somebody's in the area, and if you're trying to maintain a low profile, you're better off just putting the tool, take it to your base, and keep it in your inventory, take it to your base, and just dispose of it there. All right, let's go back and see how we're doing with the resources. I should, if I've calculated this correctly, have just enough to complete the upgrade. I'm fortunate in that I don't think I'm going to see a lot of random foot traffic here. The spot is hidden away. It's, you know, on the edge of the map, so you only have to worry about 3 sides versus 4 sides to begin with. Now that the spawn locations are no longer on the beach, but in the POI that you saw with the elevator, that's less of a concern of somebody just randomly coming this way. And there aren't any animals or anything here, so no one's coming here for harvesting purposes either. You see the roof, the external hard side tile looks quite different from the inside, so you get an idea of how it's supposed to look. And if ever you made a mistake, well, you can just rotate it if you just placed it, and if not, then you can always destroy it and rebuild it. All right, got my tool again. Let's finish off these upgrades. As mentioned, this bugged one was upgradable no problem to stone, so that was just a thing. I'll have to submit that in case it's something that's reproducible. You know, whenever you're upgrading a base in a game like this, often you'll have an experience where you forget something. You forget one tile or one foundation or one little wall that you didn't notice in an airlock, and that'll be how someone gets in. In a previous game I was playing, I had omitted upgrading a window, and the window therefore had less HP, and it allowed someone to break it with ranged weapons and then shoot inside the base and do damage inside without having to take down a whole wall. So you got to check everything. All right, so now I have the influence chest item. The influence chest I mentioned earlier is how you pay your maintenance fee if you don't have sufficient materials of the right type inside the chest. You will start to decay. You'll notice that on the actual wall pieces itself. The influence chest is also what determines your no build radius, your no dig radius, and your taxation. Primarily the radius of taxation. You'll notice it change as you upgrade it. So I I generally don't build my influence chest in the above ground temporary base. I usually wait and build it underground because you can't move it. Unlike the workstations, which you can just pick up, put in your inventory and relocate, the chest is going to stay here. It is also, you know, obviously how you destroy a base, so you generally want to honeycomb it and have it as deep into your base as possible. But because of the upcoming wipe, I'm not too concerned about that, so I'm just going to leave it up here for convenience sake. There we go. You can see that I'm setting the tax rate, setting it to a nice generous 10%. There's an upside and a downside to this feature. Well, before we explain that, here's the rate protection interface. So in any 24-hour period, there are 6 hours where you can be protected. You can see it's currently set from midnight to 6 a.m. where nobody can raid my base, and the rest of the time my base is raidable. I kind of feel this is backwards. In survival games normally, and certainly in MMOs that feature sieging, your vulnerability window is smaller than your protection window, so you don't have to worry about protecting your base for 18 hours a day. In this example, you only have to do it for 6 hours. I'm not sure if that's a bug or if that's a design decision, but I'm not a fan. 6 hours is plenty of time to be required to be in game protecting your base if you don't want to be offline rated. But it is what it is. It is early access. Perhaps it'll change once there's more siege activity. We'll get a better sense of how that actually plays out. But here you can see the interface slider. Now, regarding the tax, the upside and downside. The downside is that if you have a hidden base underground, then anybody walking around in the open world will detect the presence of your base simply by the pop-up in the right that you can see, lower right, indicating the percentage of tax that you are being taxed. I don't know if you can avoid that by setting a 0% tax rate. It's something I'll have to test. I suspect it'll just pop it up and say you've been taxed 0%. That might be something that the devs would consider modifying. If that's the case, have it that you, as a base owner, can choose to sacrifice the resource income for taxation by for the, you know, stealthiness of your base, by having it not show up. Because if you upgrade the influence chest, that area, that radius of taxation can be quite large actually. So, you know, anybody wandering around the countryside will discover your base. Okay, so there you go. See that I've got it all stoned up, so I'm relatively safe now. Unless someone were to come along with explosives, which is unlikely, I can now focus on the next stage of my progress here, which is going to be locating deer, securing the animal fat that I need to build the next workstations. Alternatively, I can go to a POI, to a goblin fort or tower, attempt to get a ranged weapon, and range down some faster mobs. I can even build a ranged weapon with a workstation, the slingshot, but it's not terribly good at ranging down mobs, because after you hit them for the first time, they're just going to run away, and you know, it's harder and harder to hit them as they get away, and it's in my experience not particularly viable. It's much easier to spend the time running around finding the deer, and you can melee those down. You only need 25 animal fat, so it's not too difficult, but it is a gate. It will gate you from progressing in terms of being able to build underground, as well as being able to build some of the advanced stations, and certainly from the advanced gear. I'm just collecting some material to make sure I have enough for what I will be doing next, and we're going to put this in the base so that it's safe. Don't wander the countryside, as in most PvP games. Don't walk around with stuff in your inventory that you're not needing, because you can be killed and looted any time, so you definitely want to travel light. Okay, that's about it for this video. In the next one, we will build our first crafting stations, improve our gear, and prepare for going after the first of the POI, the mob spawns. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.